The Imperial Command Center was never silent. It was a place of constant movement. Officers walked quickly between glowing screens. Massive holograms showed thousands of star systems under the control of the Galactic Empire. Warships moved like tiny lights across the map. The Empire was strong. The Empire was feared. The Empire was feared that controlled everything. No one expected that to change. High Admiral Corvin stood in the center of the chamber. He watched the outer rim systems. Those systems were far from the Imperial core. They were weak, poor, not important. Nothing dangerous ever came from there. Then, a sharp alarm sound broke the normal rhythm of the room. It was not a small warning. It was a deep space alert. Every officer froze. A red signal flashed across the main hologram. Unknown object detected. Location: Outer Rim, Sector 47. Admiral Corvin frowned. Magnify the signal. The hologram zoomed in. At first, it looked like a small dot moving through dark space. The scanners struggled to read it clearly. Probably debris, one officer said nervously. Another officer shook his head. No, sir. It has controlled movement. The object was not drifting. It was traveling. Slow, direct, steady. Corvin's voice became serious. Run full spectrum scan. Seconds felt long. The room remained quiet except for the sound of machines analyzing the unknown object. Then the results appeared. Size classification: Battleship. Energy output: extreme. Origin: human. The word human echoed in the chamber like a dangerous whisper. Several officers looked at each other. Humans were not considered a major threat. They lived in a small region outside Imperial space. They had advanced quickly in recent decades, but they were still young compared to ancient galactic powers. Or so the Empire believed. Confirm that scan, Corvin ordered. It is confirmed, sir. The ship matches human engineering design. But the power readings, the officer stopped speaking. What about the power readings? Corvin demanded. They are higher than our Titan-class dreadnoughts. That was impossible. Titan-class ships were the pride of the Empire. Only a few existed. They required entire worlds to build and maintain. Yet this human ship was alone. No escort fleet, no support vessels. Just one battleship, moving directly toward Imperial space. The doors behind the chamber opened suddenly. Imperial guards entered. Behind them walked Emperor Valeris himself. The room instantly bowed. The Emperor rarely visited the command center unless something serious was happening. I was informed of an unusual signal, the Emperor said calmly. Explain. Admiral Corvin stood tall. Your Majesty, an unidentified human battleship has entered Sector 47. It is traveling toward the core. Alone? The Emperor asked. Yes, Your Majesty. The Emperor's eyes narrowed slightly. Humans are not foolish. They would not send one ship into our territory without reason. As if responding to his words, the hologram updated. The human ship had just crossed the outer Imperial border. No request for entry. No communication. It did not slow down. It did not hesitate. It simply entered. A wave of quiet fear moved across the room. Deploy defense satellites, Corvin ordered. Scan again. I want full internal structure analysis. The satellites activated around the approaching vessel. Beams of scanning light touched the dark metal surface of the human battleship. The image became clearer. The ship was long and angular. Its hull looked heavy and armored. Strange blue lights glowed along its sides. There were no visible insignias of fear or aggression. It looked calm, confident, like it did not care about being surrounded. Shield systems are active, an officer reported. They are layered. I have never seen this type of shield design before. Weapon systems? Corvin asked. The officer swallowed. Multiple rail cannons, energy lances, unknown weapon ports, and something larger. Larger, the Emperor repeated. There is a central core reading inside the ship. Its energy output is unstable but controlled. It is far beyond our known human technology. The Emperor remained silent for a moment. Humans had always been underestimated. They fought brutal wars among themselves. They were emotional, divided, but they were also creative and determined. Could they have been building something in secret? Send a warning transmission, the Emperor ordered. Inform them they are entering Imperial territory. The message was transmitted. There was no reply. The human battleship continued forward. Then something unexpected happened. 3 Imperial defense satellites suddenly went offline. No explosion, no visible attack. They simply shut down. The entire chamber reacted with shock. What happened? Corvin shouted. We detected a pulse, an officer replied quickly. It came from the human ship. It disabled the satellites instantly. The Emperor's calm expression finally changed. This was no accident. This was a message. The human battleship was not firing weapons. It was demonstrating power. Without destruction, without chaos, just control. More Imperial fleets began moving toward Sector 47. Warships exited hyperspace one by one. Within minutes, the lone human vessel was surrounded by dozens of Imperial cruisers. Still, it did not stop. Still, it did not fire. It moved forward as if none of them mattered. Then, at last, a transmission request appeared on the screen. Origin human battleship. The room went completely silent. "Open it," the Emperor said. The hologram shifted. A human figure appeared. He wore a dark uniform. His face was calm, his eyes steady. There was no fear in them. He did not bow. He did not show respect in the Imperial way. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Earth vessel Resolute," the human said clearly. "We come with a warning." The Admiral clenched his fists. The Emperor leaned slightly forward. "A warning?" Valeris asked. The human captain looked directly into the holographic projection. "You are preparing fleets near our border colonies," Ward said. "We see your movements. We know your intentions." The chamber felt colder. "This vessel is not here to attack," Ward continued. "But if you move against humanity, there will be consequences." The Emperor's voice became firm. "You dare enter our territory alone and threaten us?" Captain Ward did not raise his voice. "We did not come alone," he said quietly. The screen behind him shifted. For a brief second, star maps appeared. Multiple human fleet signatures hidden in deep space. Watching, waiting. Then the transmission ended. The human battleship powered its engines brighter and continued toward the heart of the Empire. The Galactic Empire had never felt fear before, but now it was beginning to understand what it had ignored. Humanity was no longer small, and this was only the arrival. The Imperial Command Center did not move for several seconds after the transmission ended. No one spoke. The image of Captain Elias Ward still felt present in the room, even though the screen was dark again. High Admiral Corvin finally broke the silence. "Track every human signal shown in that map." Officers rushed to their stations. Fingers moved quickly across glowing panels. Long-range scanners expanded beyond Imperial borders. But something was wrong. "There are no fleet signatures," one officer said nervously. "What do you mean, no signatures?" Corvin demanded. "The scans show empty space, sir. No ships. No energy traces. Nothing." The room became tense again. The human captain had shown multiple fleet positions. Clear, precise, impossible to fake at that scale. Yet now, there was nothing. Emperor Valeris spoke slowly. "Either the human was bluffing, or their stealth technology is beyond ours." No one liked either possibility. Outside the massive viewport of the command center, Imperial warships continued to arrive in Sector 47. Cruisers, destroyers, even 2 heavy dreadnoughts exited hyperspace. The lone human battleship remained in the center, calm, surrounded, still moving forward. "Block its path," Corvin ordered. Imperial cruisers formed a wall of steel and plasma in front of the human vessel. Weapons powered up, shield grids activated. The human ship slowed for the first time. Energy readings inside it began to rise. "Sir, its reactor output is increasing," an officer reported. "How much?" Corvin asked. 30% above previous levels, now 50, now 70. The numbers kept climbing. Inside the human battleship, deep within its armored core, massive systems awakened. The whole lights shifted from soft blue to bright white. The Empire prepared for war. "Fire warning shots," Corvin commanded. A line of plasma beams streaked across space in front of the human ship. They exploded in bright flashes, forming a barrier. The human battleship did not change direction. It moved forward and passed through the explosion cloud without slowing. "What?" one officer whispered. The plasma had not touched it. It had bent around the ship. The shield did not block the energy. It redirected it. "Adaptive shield technology," another officer said quietly. "It is learning from our weapons." Emperor Valeris stared at the screen carefully. "Do not escalate yet," he said firmly, but events were already moving. One young Imperial admiral inside a nearby dreadnought felt anger instead of caution. "Humans dare challenge us," he said to his bridge crew. "We will remind them who rules this galaxy." Without waiting for approval from the Emperor, he gave the order. "Full barrage. Target their engines. Hundreds of Imperial cannons fired at once. Energy beams, missiles, railgun slugs. A storm of destruction crossed space toward the lone human ship. In the command center, everyone watched. The human battleship disappeared inside the explosion. Light filled the screen. Shockwaves expanded outward. Silence followed. When the light faded, the human ship was still there. Its shields glowed brightly, but the hull was untouched. Damage report, Corvin demanded. No visible damage, an officer answered slowly. Shield efficiency at 92%. Impossible. No ship could survive that level of firepower alone. Then the human vessel responded. It did not fire a massive barrage. It did not launch missiles. A single section of its hull opened. A long, narrow cannon extended outward. Energy spike detected. Someone shouted. The reading climbed higher than anything previously recorded. The Imperial dreadnought that had fired first tried to retreat. It was too late. A thin beam of white light shot from the human ship. It was silent. It was clean. It struck the dreadnought directly in the center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the dreadnought split in half. Not exploded. Not shattered. Split. The two halves drifted apart. Systems dead. Power gone. Complete destruction. Across Imperial channels, panic began spreading. That was one shot, an officer whispered. Only one, another confirmed. The human battleship lowered its weapon again. It did not continue firing. It did not chase fleeing ships. It simply resumed its slow movement toward the core. Inside the command center, fear finally replaced pride. Emperor Valeris closed his eyes briefly. "This is not a warship," he said quietly. "It is a message." Corvin looked at him. "Your Majesty, this ship was designed to fight entire empires alone," Valeris continued. "It is not an invasion fleet. It is a demonstration." Another officer interrupted. "New transmission coming from the human vessel." "Open it," the Emperor ordered. Captain Elias Ward appeared again. His expression had not changed. "You fired first," Ward said calmly. "We defended ourselves. You destroyed an Imperial dreadnought," Corvin snapped. "It fired on us without warning," Ward replied. "We responded with minimum force." Minimum force, the words felt heavy. If that was minimum, one officer muttered under his breath. Ward continued speaking. "We do not seek conquest. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek territory. But humanity will no longer be treated as weak." The Emperor stepped forward into view. "You enter our space. You destroy our ship. And you speak of peace." Ward looked directly at him. "You were preparing fleets near our colonies," he said. "We know about your expansion plan." Several Imperial officers looked nervous. The Empire had quietly been increasing military presence near human borders. It was meant to pressure them, control them. Ward continued. "This battleship is not the beginning of a war," he said. "It is the prevention of one." Behind him, a large window revealed stars passing slowly. The ship was still moving forward. "We came alone," Ward said, "because one ship is enough." The transmission ended once more. Silence filled the chamber again. Then, long-range scanners detected something new. Multiple small distortions in deep space. Very faint, very distant. Not large fleets, but signals. Hidden, watching. Admiral Corvin looked at the Emperor carefully. They were not bluffing. Emperor Valeris understood now. Humanity had changed. They had grown in silence. They had prepared without boasting. And now they had revealed only a fraction of their strength. The lone human battleship crossed deeper into Imperial territory. Imperial fleets moved aside, not because they were ordered to, but because they were afraid. For the first time in galactic history, the Empire was not in control. And this was only the second move. The destruction of the Imperial dreadnought spread across the galaxy within hours. News channels on distant worlds replayed the same image again and again. A single beam of light. A proud warship split into two silent halves. No explosion, no fire, just absolute defeat. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had ruled without fear. Smaller civilizations obeyed because they had no choice. But now, whispers began to grow. If one human ship can do this, what else are they hiding? Inside the Imperial Palace, Emperor Valeris held an emergency council. High admirals, intelligence leaders, political governors, all gathered in the circular war chamber beneath the palace. A massive hologram of the human battleship floated in the center. It continued moving toward the Imperial core. Slow, steady, untouched. Admiral Corvin spoke first. We have mobilized 40% of our core fleet. Defensive formations are active around the capital system. 40%? One governor asked nervously. Why not all of it? Corvin did not answer immediately, because everyone knew the truth. Even 40% might not be enough. Imperial Intelligence Director Sareth stepped forward. We have investigated human activity over the last 50 years, she said. They have reduced public military spending. They appeared divided. They fought internal conflicts. Yes, a governor said. They were weak. Sareth shook her head, slowly. That weakness was a mask. The hologram changed. Data streams appeared. While appearing divided, humans unified their research networks. They moved major industrial operations underground and into deep space. Entire shipyards hidden inside asteroid belts. Energy experiments beyond our sensor range. Murmurs filled the chamber. They were preparing, Sareth continued, not for conquest, but for survival. The Emperor remained silent, watching the data. Survival from what? One admiral asked. Sareth looked at him directly. From us. Silence followed. The Empire had believed humanity was simply another young species, emotional, unstable, not a threat. But humans had studied the Empire carefully. They had seen expansion patterns. They had predicted future aggression. And instead of begging for protection or alliances, they built something unstoppable. The Earth vessel Resolute was not a random project. It was a decision. Back in Sector 47, Imperial fleets continued to shadow the human battleship. They kept distance now. No one wanted to be the next destroyed dreadnought. The Resolute entered a dense asteroid field. Imperial commanders saw an opportunity. Deploy stealth probes inside the field, Corvin ordered remotely. I want internal scans of that ship. Small cloaked drones moved silently through the asteroids. They approached the human vessel carefully. For a moment, it seemed successful. Then something strange happened. Every drone suddenly stopped transmitting. No signal, no explosion, just silence. Inside the human battleship, Captain Elias Ward stood on his bridge. A young officer beside him spoke calmly. Imperial probes detected and neutralized. Any damage? Ward asked. None. We remain unseen from inside. Ward nodded slowly. He looked at the star map ahead. The Imperial core was still days away at current speed. We maintain course, he said. Back in the Imperial Command Center, frustration grew. They did not fire, Corvin said. They simply erased our drones. Emperor Valeris stood up. Enough guessing, he said firmly. Open a secure channel to the human captain. I will speak to him directly. Minutes later, the holographic connection opened again. Captain Ward appeared. Emperor Valeris stood alone before him this time. No crowd, no advisors visible. You continue deeper into my territory, Valeris said calmly. State your final intention. Ward looked steady as always. Our intention has not changed. We are here to ensure your fleets withdraw from our border systems. You destroyed one of our most powerful ships, the Emperor replied. You expect us to retreat? Ward's voice remained controlled. We expect you to choose wisely. The Emperor studied the human carefully. There was no arrogance in his tone, no hatred, just certainty. You believe you can defeat the Empire? Valeris asked. Ward paused for a moment before answering. No, he said. This surprised the Emperor. No, Valeris repeated. We do not believe we can defeat the Empire, Ward explained. We believe we can make victory impossible. The words were simple, but heavy. If war begins, Ward continued, your fleets may destroy many human worlds, but before we fall, this ship will reach your core. And what you saw in Sector 47 will look small compared to what follows. For the first time, Emperor Valeris felt something unfamiliar. Not anger, not pride, but risk. The Empire had always won wars, but this would not be a war of victory. It would be a war of loss. Loss on both sides. The Emperor ended the transmission without further words. Inside the war chamber, tension reached its highest point. What is your command? Admiral Corvin asked quietly. Valeris walked toward the giant window overlooking the capital planet below. Billions of citizens lived there. Families, children, workers who trusted the Empire to protect them. The human ship was not an invasion force. It was a shield turned outward, A warning made real. Long-range sensors suddenly detected something new. Faint signals again. This time, closer. Small distortions in space surrounding the core system. "They are here," Sareth whispered. "Hidden human ships, not large fleets, but enough. Watching, waiting." The Empire was no longer the only power capable of silent movement. Back in deep space, the Earth vessel Resolute exited the asteroid field. The core system was visible now in the distance. Bright, massive, the heart of the Galactic Empire. Captain Ward stood alone on the bridge for a moment. He knew billions of lives depended on the next few hours. Behind him, officers worked calmly. No fear, only focus. They had trained for this moment. They did not want war, but they would not accept change. The Resolute increased speed slightly. Imperial defense platforms powered up across the core system. Weapons locked, shields activated. One wrong decision could ignite the largest war in galactic history, and everyone understood something now. This was no longer about territory, this was about respect, and the Empire was beginning to realize that humanity had already earned it. The core system of the Galactic Empire had never prepared for defense like this before. Massive orbital platforms rotated into battle position. Thousands of cannons aimed toward the incoming human battleship. Fighter wings filled space like dark clouds waiting for a storm. At the center of it all was the capital world. Bright cities, endless towers, billions of lives below, and far above them, one human ship moved closer. The Earth vessel Resolute did not change speed. It did not power weapons aggressively. It did not send threats. It simply advanced. Inside the Imperial Command Center, fear was no longer hidden. "Distance to core perimeter," Admiral Corvin asked. 4 million kilometers in closing. Energy levels, stable, high, but not charging primary weapon. Emperor Valeris stood silently, hands behind his back. His eyes were fixed on the hologram. "Open all channels," he ordered. "Civilian networks as well." The entire Empire would witness what happened next. Across thousands of worlds, screens lit up. Citizens watched as the lone human battleship approached the heart of Imperial power. For the first time in history, the Empire looked uncertain. Inside the Resolute, Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge. "Core perimeter in range," a human officer said calmly. Ward nodded. "Transmit final statement." A wide transmission signal spread across the system. The human captain appeared on every Imperial screen. He did not look like a conqueror. He did not look angry. He looked calm. "People of the Galactic Empire," Ward began, his voice clear. "We did not come to destroy your worlds." The statement surprised many. "We came because your fleets gathered near our colonies. We came because history shows what happens next." In the Imperial Palace chamber, governors shifted uncomfortably. Ward continued, "Humanity knows fear. We have fought our own wars. We nearly destroyed ourselves. We learned from that." The image behind him showed Earth, blue oceans, white clouds, a peaceful world. "We built this ship not to rule others," Ward said. "We built it so no one would rule us." Imperial weapons remained locked. The Resolute crossed into the outer defense grid. Alarms sounded across the core. "Majesty," Corvin said carefully, "we must decide now." Emperor Valeris understood the weight of that moment. If he ordered fire, the human ship would respond. Perhaps it would fall. Perhaps it would survive. But the core would burn either way. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. Long-range sensors detected a massive energy spike. Not from the Resolute. From behind it. Space itself distorted. A silent shockwave passed through the system. More human ships appeared. Not hundreds, not thousands, but enough. Small, advanced vessels emerging from stealth around the core. They had been there all along, hidden, watching. Imperial officers stared in disbelief. "They infiltrated our core," someone whispered. Emperor Valeris felt something new. Not anger, not humiliation, understanding. Humanity had not come unprepared. They had planned for every possibility. The Resolute was not alone. It was the visible piece of a larger shield. Back on the human bridge, Ward watched the Imperial fleet carefully. "Weapon status," he asked. "Primary cannon ready. Secondary systems online. But we are holding." Ward nodded. "Maintain position." The human fleet did not fire. They did not even power weapons fully. They simply existed. A silent wall around the core. Admiral Corvin spoke again. If we fire now, we can destroy several of their smaller ships. And then? The Emperor asked quietly. Corvin hesitated. And then they will destroy us, he admitted. The truth settled over the chamber. The Empire could win battles, but not this war. Not without losing everything. Another transmission request came from the Resolute. Valeris accepted. Ward appeared once more. This is your final chance, the human captain said calmly. Withdraw your fleets from our border systems. Recognize our sovereignty. And this ends peacefully. The Emperor looked at him carefully. You risk everything by standing here, Valeris said. Yes, Ward replied. So do you. Silence filled the connection. Both leaders understood the same reality. Power had met power, and neither side truly wanted destruction. Behind the Emperor, one young Imperial officer suddenly shouted, Majesty, unauthorized fleet movement. An extremist Imperial commander, angry and proud, had launched a strike wing toward one of the smaller hidden human ships. Missiles streaked through space. The system held its breath. Before the missiles reached their target, the smaller human ship vanished. It reappeared behind the Imperial strike wing. In one controlled pulse, every attacking fighter shut down. Engines dead, weapons offline, pilots alive, but defeated. The message was clear. Humanity could destroy, but it chose not to. The Emperor exhaled slowly. He turned to his commanders. Stand down all weapons. The order echoed through the core. Imperial cannons powered down. Defense platforms rotated away. Fleet formations loosened. Across the galaxy, billions watched the impossible. The Galactic Empire was stepping back. Ward saw the change on his tactical display. He gave a small nod. Human fleet, hold position. No celebration. No victory cheers. Only calm. Emperor Valeris spoke into the open system channel. The Galactic Empire recognizes the sovereignty of humanity. Our fleets will withdraw from your borders. Gasps filled the chamber. It was the first time in centuries that the Empire had publicly acknowledged an equal. Ward answered clearly. We accept peaceful coexistence. The hidden human ships slowly began disappearing again, one by one, returning to shadows. The Resolute remained a moment longer at the edge of the core. Captain Ward looked at the glowing capital world below. Then he gave the final order. Turn us around. The massive battleship rotated slowly. Its engines flared softly. It began the journey home. No war, no destruction, but something far greater had changed. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Valeris watched the human ship leave. He understood something deeply now. Humanity had not come seeking dominance. They had come demanding respect, and they had earned it. Across the galaxy, smaller civilizations felt hope rise for the first time. The Empire was still powerful, but it was no longer alone at the top. Far in the distance, the Earth vessel Resolute entered hyperspace. Its mission was complete, but both sides knew something important. This was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new balance in the galaxy. And from this day forward, no one would ever call humanity weak again. The Earth vessel Resolute disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the core system quiet for the first time in days. But the silence did not mean peace. It meant change. Across the Galactic Empire, citizens tried to understand what had happened. News networks replayed the moment when Imperial weapons powered down. Commentators spoke carefully. No one wanted to say the wrong thing. The Empire had not been defeated, but it had not won. Inside the Imperial Palace, Emperor Valeris stood alone in a high observation chamber. Below him, the capital world continued its normal life. Ships moved through traffic lanes. Trade continued. Markets opened. Life looked the same, but it was not. Admiral Corvin entered quietly. The human fleet signatures have vanished completely, he reported. No trace of them. They were never meant to stay, Valeris replied. Corvin hesitated before speaking again. Many commanders are angry. Some see this as weakness. Valeris turned slowly. Is it weakness to avoid destroying billions of lives? Corvin did not answer, because he knew the truth. The Empire had always used strength to maintain order. But now they had met a civilization that understood strength differently. Not loud, not aggressive, just undeniable. Meanwhile, light years away, the Resolute exited hyperspace near the human border systems. Human colonies lit up with relief when the battleship appeared on friendly channels. They had been watching the entire event, waiting, hoping. Inside the ship, Captain Elias Ward walked through quiet corridors. Crew members looked tired but proud. They had stood at the edge of war and did not fire first. In the central command room, a secure transmission awaited him. Origin Earth High Council. Ward activated it. A panel of human leaders appeared. "You were successful," one council member said calmly. "Temporary success," Ward replied. "The Empire will adapt." Another council member leaned forward. "They expected fear. Instead, we showed certainty." Ward nodded. "The Empire understands now that we will not bow." But even as they spoke, human intelligence divisions were analyzing new Imperial data. The Empire had powerful research programs. They would study the Resolute. They would try to copy what they could. Balance did not mean safety. It meant preparation. Back in the Empire, internal debates grew stronger. Some admirals demanded faster ship development. Some politicians suggested secret alliances with other major powers. Others quietly admitted something important. Humanity had acted with control. They destroyed one dreadnought. They disabled fighters without killing pilots. They avoided civilian harm. That restraint impressed even some Imperial citizens. In hidden communication channels, smaller alien civilizations began contacting human diplomats. For years, they had feared Imperial expansion. Now, they saw another option. The balance of power was shifting. Days later, Emperor Valeris called for a private transmission. Destination: Earth. Captain Ward stood in a diplomatic chamber aboard the Resolute as the Emperor appeared on screen again. No fleets, no weapons. Just two leaders speaking. "You have changed the galaxy," Valeris said calmly. Ward responded simply, "So have you." Valeris studied him. "You could have attacked when you reached the core." "Yes," Ward admitted. "Why did you not?" Ward answered without hesitation. "Because fear creates enemies. Respect creates tenemies. Respect creates stability." The Emperor considered those words carefully. "You understand something many ancient civilizations forget," Valeris said. "Power does not need to prove itself constantly." Ward gave a small nod. Humanity learned that lesson the hard way. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Valeris made a surprising statement. "The Empire proposes a formal treaty, non-aggression, shared borders, trade access." This was unprecedented. The Empire rarely offered equality. Ward knew this moment was historic. "I will bring your proposal to Earth," he said. The transmission ended peacefully. But not everyone in the galaxy accepted this new balance. Far beyond both territories, in deep unexplored space, long-range sensors from an unknown civilization had detected the energy surge when the Resolute fired its main weapon days earlier. They had been watching quietly, studying, analyzing. To them, the Empire and humanity were both young powers, growing, expanding, potential threats. In a dark chamber aboard an alien vessel, a tall shadowed figure spoke softly. "So the humans have revealed their strength." Another voice answered, and the Empire hesitated. The first figure responded calmly. "Then it is time we test them both." Back near human territory, Captain Ward stood alone again on the bridge. Stars stretched endlessly before him. He understood something most citizens did not. Peace was not permanent. It was maintained, protected, earned again and again. The Resolute had shown what humanity could do. But now the galaxy knew, and knowledge brought attention. A young officer approached Ward quietly. "Sir, deep space probes are detecting unusual signals beyond mapped regions." Ward looked at the data. "Faint, strange, unknown origin. Mark them for investigation," he said calmly. As the ship moved forward toward Earth, a new question formed in his mind. Had their show of strength protected humanity, or had it awakened something far older? Back in the Imperial core, Emperor Valeris also stared at similar reports. Unidentified signals. Distant. Watching. For the first time, both civilizations were not looking at each other with suspicion. They were looking outward. The galaxy was larger than either of them. Stronger forces could exist. And now, for the first time, the Empire and humanity might need each other. The balance of power had been created, but balance attracts challengers. The story was no longer about one battleship. It was about what comes after power is revealed. And somewhere in the dark, between galaxies, something had noticed. And it was moving closer. The strange signals did not disappear. They grew stronger. At first, both the Empire and humanity believed they were natural space disturbances, radiation storms, dark matter shifts, sensor errors. But the pattern repeated, precise, organized. intentional, deep in human territory. Long-range observatories detected a massive distortion forming near the edge of known space. Not a ship, not a fleet, something larger. Inside the Earth vessel Resolute, Captain Elias Ward studied the projection carefully. The distortion was not moving randomly. It was advancing, slow, direct, toward the space between human and Imperial territory. At the same time, inside the Imperial core, Emperor Valeris received identical reports. For the first time in centuries, the Empire sent an open communication to Earth without hesitation. Joint emergency session requested. The meeting happened within minutes. Human and Imperial leaders appeared on shared holographic display. No hostility, no pride, only concern. Our sensors confirm a massive structure entering our galaxy, Valeris said. Ward nodded. We see the same. Imperial Intelligence Director Sareth added new data to the projection. The distortion cleared, and something emerged. A colossal vessel, dark, ancient. Its design was unlike anything recorded in galactic history. It was not elegant like Imperial ships, not efficient like human vessels. It looked organic, almost alive. Size comparison markers appeared. It was larger than the Imperial core defense station, larger than the Resolute, larger than anything ever built by known civilizations. Silence filled the shared chamber. Then another signal appeared. Behind the massive vessel, smaller shapes followed, not fleets, but escorts. Each one the size of a dreadnought. This is not exploration, Ward said quietly. Valeris agreed. This is assessment. As if responding to their discussion, the colossal vessel emitted a pulse. Every communication system in the region flickered. Then a transmission appeared, not in Imperial language, not in human language, but something older. The message translated slowly through combined AI systems. The words were simple. Emergent civilizations detected. Another line followed. Power escalation observed. Then the final line. Containment protocol initiated. Both leadership groups understood immediately. The galaxy had been observed long before the Empire rose, long before humanity reached the stars. And now the two strong powers had revealed themselves. They were being judged. On the bridge of the Resolute, alarms began to sound. The alien vessel had fired something, not a beam, not a missile, a wave. The wave passed through a distant, uninhabited star system. Planets cracked. One gas giant collapsed inward. Energy signatures vanished. No explosion, just erasure. It was not an attack of anger. It was a demonstration. The alien civilization was showing scale. Ward spoke firmly. If they view us as unstable, they will remove us. Valeris responded immediately. The Empire will commit its full fleet. Ward shook his head. If we fight separately, we lose separately. The Emperor understood. This was no longer about borders. It was survival. Within hours, something historic happened. Imperial fleets moved into formation beside human warships, not facing each other, facing outward. The Resolute took position at the center of the combined defensive line. Imperial dreadnoughts formed heavy wings. Human stealth vessels spread wide in layered formations. For the first time, two rival powers stood as one force. The colossal alien vessel approached slowly. Its surface shifted like living metal. It transmitted again. Unified response detected. Probability of resistance increased. Then smaller alien escorts accelerated. The first engagement began. Alien ships fired beams unlike anything seen before. Space itself bent around them. Several Imperial cruisers were struck. Shields failed instantly. But before destruction could spread, human adaptive shield algorithms transferred across shared channels. Imperial ships adjusted frequencies. They survived the next volley. Human vessels moved quickly, striking escort ships with precision rail cannons. Imperial heavy cannons followed with massive energy blasts. For the first time, the alien escorts took visible damage. The colossal vessel paused, as if recalculating. Inside the alien structure, unknown entities observed the battlefield. Cooperation between emergent species confirmed. Unexpected adaptation rate. Another alien pulse formed, this time aimed directly at the Resolute. Ward saw it coming. All power to forward shields. Imperial dreadnoughts immediately shifted position, placing themselves partially in front of the human battleship. The alien beam struck. One Imperial dreadnought shattered, but the energy weakened before reaching the Resolute. Ward did not hesitate. Primary cannon ready. The massive rail cannon extended once more, but this time it was not alone. Imperial superweapons synchronized with it. Human and Imperial targeting systems merged. One combined strike launched. White light and deep red plasma converged into a single focus blast. It struck the colossal alien vessel directly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then cracks appeared along its surface. Not destroyed, but damaged. The alien transmission changed tone. Resistance exceeds containment threshold. Revaluation required. The colossal vessel began pulling back, not fleeing in panic, but withdrawing strategically. Its escorts followed. The distortion field reformed around it. Within minutes, it vanished from the galaxy. Silence followed across the battlefield. Imperial ships drifted damaged but alive. Human vessels stabilized power systems. The impossible had happened. They had forced something ancient to retreat. Inside the shared command channel, no one celebrated loudly. They understood what this meant. The galaxy was not empty. It was monitored. And now they had been noticed. Emperor Valeris spoke first. "Without your technology, we would have fallen." Ward answered calmly. "Without your fleet, we would have fallen." The truth was clear. Alone, each civilization was powerful. Together, they were formidable. Across both territories, news spread quickly. The Empire and humanity had fought side by side. Old fear turned into cautious respect. The balance of power had evolved into alliance. On the bridge of the Resolute, Ward looked out at the stars once more. Peace had not come through dominance. It had come through unity. But he knew something important. The ancient civilization had not been destroyed. It had been studying, testing, and it would return. This was not the end. It was the beginning of a larger galaxy, one where the Empire and humanity would stand together, not as ruler and subject, but as guardians. And far beyond the edge of known space, the ancient watchers continued observing, this time with interest, not dismissal. The galaxy had grown stronger, and the next encounter would decide its future.